started. So I want to welcome everyone today to what will hopefully be a monthly Pioneer Network conversation series. This idea was actually developed from our virtual gathering that I know many of you were at a few weeks ago, where we held discussion groups every afternoon. And this was really extremely popular and informative. And so we decided to offer a version of these every month with different topics and ensure that all of you are included in the conversation. I'm Penny Cook, and I'm the president and CEO of Pioneer Network. And we are just so happy to have everyone here. So a few items before we start. I think we just learned, because this is a meeting room format, I'm going to ask you to please mute yourself if you aren't talking so that we can hear all of our speakers today. To join the conversation, feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat feature for continued conversation. When I begin, I'm going to unmute all of you, so I am going to ask you to mute yourselves at that time. My colleague, Kathy Lieblich, is helping out to monitor the chat. And this is being recorded so we can capture all the great ideas we think will be generated from today's discussion and the highlights. And the recording will be shared on our resource page. We have a tab, if you haven't seen it, called the ABCs of Combating Social Isolation, and it will be shared there. And last, we're so sorry that our colleague Joan Devine is not part of our discussion today. She's the one whose brainchild this was, and she coordinated all of it. But as many of you know, one of her daughters and her grandchildren live in Idaho, and she finally had the opportunity to visit with them. So she is literally on a plane right now. She joined us right in the beginning from her seat, but they were about to take off. But she does send her regards to all of you. So with that, we're going to get started. You know, we know that life in senior living and care communities has really looked so very different these past 7 months. And as we approach the months of many holidays, we really started to wonder how everyone's going to honor and celebrate these occasions when we have restricted visitation and in some cases, and just the continued physical distancing and many others. So we reached out to some of our friends of the network and asked if they would share their ideas and lead the conversation as we share with each other today. So I'm pleased to introduce our facilitators for today. And, you know, we have the order different on everybody's screen, so I'm just going to go with who I see first. We have Angie McAllister, who is the Director of Quality of Life and Culture Change for Signature Health Systems. We have Danielle Palmer, and she's the Director of Resident Services at Shenandoah Valley, Westminster, Canterbury. We have Carrie Shizano, and she is the Executive Director of the Dementia Care Center of Excellence for Presbyterian Senior Care Network. And we have Jenny Dill joining me from Colorado, where I am too. She's the Life Engagement Specialist for Anthem Memory Care. So they're going to start sharing some of their thoughts and ideas of celebrating during this time of COVID, and then we're going to open it up for conversation. Please use the chat room before we open it up for conversation from everyone. Like I said, Kathy will be monitoring that, and we'd love to hear your ideas and what's going on. And please, to get us started, please feel free to begin chatting in where you're joining us from. We always love to hear that. So with that, let me try to unmute everybody, and I'm going to ask you to mute yourselves, and then we'll get started. Okay, now I don't know how to unmute everybody. Okay, I'm going to ask all of you to unmute now. So Angie, I am going to start with you. And please, please mute yourselves then if you are not talking. Angie, I'm going to start with you.
Hey everybody, how are all my Pioneer Network friends today? So good to see you guys. There are a lot of you here. 5 pages when I look in this gallery view. That is so exciting. Well, I wasn't planning on going first, but here we are trying to go first. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do through the holiday season. And I don't look at the holiday season as any different than any other season. We should always be providing and facilitating purpose and engagement, right? And so I would love to know out there. I love beautiful questions. And so I always use a beautiful question format, and I will drop a link to some beautiful questions that you guys can engage your elders with here in the chat box here right now. So that way you can kind of see that. Hold on, didn't work out as planned. It's going to take a minute to figure that out. I'll do that in a minute. Can't multitask today, friends, obviously. So thinking about beautiful questions, and those are questions that spark engagement. So when we think about, as we're entering the season, right, there are two separate things that happen. We have a need to be entertained as individuals because we love entertainment, and then we have a need to be engaged as individuals because we really crave that deeper engagement, right? And so when we think about how are we helping and facilitating purpose and meaning in the daily lives for our elders and for our staff members or our care partners or whatever verbiage you guys are using in your organizations. So I would love to just throw out there, and you guys can put it in a chat. Have you been thinking about how you're going to be incorporating purpose? Because as we get into, I think about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my favorite. It is absolutely my favorite holiday of the entire year. And it's a time to be grateful. And it's a time to ask people about the gifts that they have in their life and to really engage with them around gift giving and how they can give those gifts to others. And guess what? Sometimes the gifts that we give to others are not always physical gifts, are they? Sometimes we can give people gifts that are so meaningful that have nothing to do with physicality. And as we're looking into all of the different things that are going on in the world today, I would love to know how everyone's thinking about how are we going to incorporate our elders in purpose and in gift giving through as we get into the season that is really known for gratitude and the giving of gifts. And so I don't know if there are any ideas out there floating around, but I think it's a question too to take back to your elders and ask your elders, what gift would you like to give? And is there a gift, and it could be a generational gift. It could be during this season. What gift would you give to another generation? What gift would you leave for the next generation, right? And then you begin to build out those engagement. And I don't like to use the word programming, but those things around a concept and an idea. So if you start to build out around the idea of gifts, then you start to ask, well, what is gratitude? And what brings gratitude to your life? And then you started to form the basis for something that becomes very engaging versus something that is already put together and is more of what I would call entertainment, right? And so you think about how do you work alongside the elders in your community to build something that can really be magnificent. And that idea of beautiful questions is one way that really will help you to do that, because those are simple questions that would spark a response. And then you start to build what you're going to do off of that response. So for example, when you think about gift giving and you think about gratitude, when I start to think about the things that I'm grateful for, I might want to create a gratitude tree. I might want to be able to share those the things on that gratitude tree with my family. I might want to figure out a way to do that, right? And then it also becomes very synonymous with the communities and how they're working together. So when you think about gift giving for elders and the people who are there facilitating care in those communities, I think the most beautiful gift that we saw just recently was a piece of art that one of our elders did of a nursing assistant that was giving care to her. And I'll give this as a great example because this is really what true engagement is. And she did a picture of her. She did a portrait of her, and she was wearing a mask, and she gave her this very superhero-ish look in the picture, and she titled it My Hero. What a beautiful gift. See, those are the beautiful gifts that we start to engage our elders in when we can engage in their creativity. And a lot of times we fail in engaging in the elders' creativity. We're all very creative people, and we engage in our own creativity, but when we unite our creativity with our elders' creativity, that's when we really start to have something beautiful happening out there. So I don't know if there's any ideas or any thoughts in here around how you might incorporate this theme of gift giving through the holiday season. If anyone's got any ideas on that.
Feel free to chat or feel free to open it up.
Hello. I've never done Zoom before, and it's.
Hi, Marilyn.
I can hear myself. I hate that. I'm an Alzheimer's advocate. I took care of my mother for many, many years. She had Alzheimer's. So I've been to, I took care of her at home. We were very close. And I was with her just about all of the time that I could be, all the time there was in a day. But anyway, what I'm doing, and I've had some other things happen since then. My life's been really a up and down thing. But right now I'm doing watercolor painting. You talked about art. I can't go to nursing homes. I don't know here. I don't think you can go there yet, but I'm a high risk. So I can't go, but that's what I would love to do. But I am painting cards. I do painting original watercolor cards, and I send them a personal note. And I've done this at 3 nursing homes. The last one that I talked to about it said that they absolutely love the cards, and it made them feel good. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to actually get a grant because I want to sort of expand it. I know I've seen so many faces in the nursing homes, so much loneliness and unhappiness, and just even a little thing like that. I'm trying to make the cards interesting. They're not just, I have a picture of whatever. I've got everything from A to Z. I'm working on Christmas cards now. And trying to get there. I recently was in a car accident, and it was my fault. That's the only accident I've ever had in my life. But anyway, and so my car was totaled. So I have to, I'm low income. I have a set income. So I have to pay for transportation to get places now. I can't just, go and drop them off, which is horrible for me, for anyone, I guess. But anyway, that's what I'm doing.
Thanks for sharing that, Marilyn. Would anyone else like to jump in and talk about what Angie asked about with Thanksgiving and gratitude? And Angie, thank you for sharing the link. So that's shared in the chat section as well.
Absolutely. So that's the link to Ann Basing's Beautiful Questions Creativity Guide. So that's free, and you can just click on that and download it, and it'll give you all kinds of scenarios and different beautiful questions. So it'll give you an idea of how to start that Beautiful Questions campaign within your communities. And that really can spark a lot when you start with that approach.
That seems like a beautiful thing to do for the holidays in particular coming up, when we do talk about Thanksgiving and gratitude, and when we talk about the December holidays as well. That just seems like a beautiful thing to use. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Angie, anything else before we move on? We know you're going to still be involved.
No, let's move on and hear what these other ladies have to share.
Great. Danielle, I'm going to have you go next.
Hello, everybody. My name's Danielle, and I'm actually from Winchester, Virginia. So I am in the heart of apple country, and some of the ideas that I came up with are focused around apples, obviously. So when Joan reached out and asked for ideas, these are some of the things that we're doing here now. And hopefully continue to do. So I agree with Angie that whatever the season may be, we need to continue to think about our engagement with all of our residents. I strive to continue to keep our programming engagement the same. Pre-COVID, I feel that out of the chaos and the scariness that's going on in the world around us, and around our residents. We need to be their constant because as we move through the holiday season, probably we're going to be their family. We are now, but we're going to be more so their family. So some of the ideas that we're doing now, and again, this is just, I did a bullet point, is apple tasting. Hopefully you have local farmer market where you're all at, and you can go and get different types of apples, cut them up and enjoy them, because not every apple tastes the same. We are going to be doing a Halloween party from door to door. So all we did was put all of the food that we were going to do, like deviled eggs and witch's fingers and spiked punch with eyeballs. All that's going on a programming cart so that all of our residents are going to still be able to enjoy it. Of course, we hope that everybody will dress up, and we provide costumes for all of our residents. Just today, our healthcare residents finished their scarecrow. So that is campus-wide. We're doing scarecrows. That's new. We normally haven't done that, but we added somebody else to our community, and his name is Harvey. The other ones have not named theirs yet, but it was a pretty cool thing. So another thing I'd like to point out is that we decorate, and we continue to decorate. Our residents are fortunate enough that they're able to move about in their healthcare or assisted living or their memory enhancement area. I know that some communities have to have their residents in their apartments, and we understand that. But we've been fortunate enough, so we decorate, and we decorate to the nines, because again, that may be all that they have. I'm going to be skipping through some of the holiday seasons, so I may go to Christmas and come back to Halloween, just so that you all know. So this month, coming up, November, we're going to start service projects. Again, what Angie said, talking about what we can do to be thankful. So we're doing a thank you cards. Our healthcare residents are going to write thank you cards to all of our veterans that live here at Westminster Canterbury. And there's probably about 150. So we thought that would be really nice. And then we're going to bake dog biscuits. The residents can mix up that, and we can bake it for them. We'll leave those at the front desk, and all of the doggies who live here on campus can come by and get one. And we probably have about 50 dogs, so that's pretty exciting. I talked about decorating. We go all out for Christmas. So we also do a lot of aromatherapy, or just a diffuser, to go around the season. So right now, pumpkin spice, I mean, that's clearly the obvious right now, but fir and cranberry and evergreens for Christmas, and that costs little to nothing. You can get that at Walmart. If you all have Walmart or Amazon it or Google it. So something we have done in the past, we did not do it last year, but obviously this year we will be doing it, is our angel tree. So what we do is, for our healthcare residents, we put their name on a angel or whatever theme it is, and the staff and or other residents take their name and they give them a gift. Santa Claus delivers that the day before Christmas. So that is for all of our residents. Again, we're going to be their family this year at Christmas, so I think that really that will be something that we'll be really appreciative of. And we already have staff asking, when is that going up? And I said, it's only October. So instead of just one day of celebration for Halloween, we're doing a whole week. Halloween has always been a very big celebration here at Westminster. We are actually, instead of doing what we do is a Halloween parade where residents, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, staff's children, and then children from the community come in, obviously dressed up. We're doing it virtually this year. So we have asked for photos, and we're going to show that internally at a certain time and call that our Halloween parade. We probably have 200 to 300 pictures already ready to go. So, I mean, people are really excited. They, dogs, cats are dressed up. I think there was a horse that's going to be dressed up. So, I mean, again, it's a big celebration. We can't hand the candy out, but we can have a good time seeing people's costumes. So we are going to be allowing visitors indoors. It's in a designated area. And we're actually going to make sure that those areas are really decorated for the visits. So it's a lot of families took their residents home for the holidays for a day trip. Not going to be the case this year. So we put that, so, you know, have Christmas trees, maybe have some photo ops, you know, give a little something back, you know, like home. We paint pumpkins, we carve pumpkins, a pumpkin pie bake-off. So this, for the staff and the residents would be our, you know, our judges. Santa is going to be visiting, like I said. And then another service project that we're going to do near Christmas is we're going to make masks. We're actually going to get masks and we're going to decorate them, meaning our residents will decorate them for all of the staff that are taking care of them. So a little something to give back to them this year at Christmas. Normally we give them something, but obviously masks this year is the most appropriate gift. And then we planted mums. Flowers are so big, especially here in the Valley. And last but not least is pumpkin spice tasting. So we're choosing different items like cookies, cake, and then I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but they have a pumpkin spice macaroni and cheese. So we're going to try it. I don't like pumpkin spice, so we'll see. So those are just some ideas, and you know, take them, leave them, use them, do what you will with them. But you know, I'm just trying to get it out there and do as much engagement as we can in these times. So thank you.
Well, I love that too, because I mean, you're really talking about bringing in everything from the season too, you know, everything from autumn, you know, related to the pumpkins and the apples and things like that. And just a couple of things that are coming through chat. Is the idea, this was from Kaylee, is that on her neighborhood, she took a pumpkin and went room to room and asked residents to tell her what they were grateful for and wrote it around the pumpkin. I thought, well, that's such a cool idea too. Please put your ideas into chat and keep engaging with each other. And Linda, I love the reverse trick or treat that you have staff dressing up and giving the residents the treats of different things too. I think that just thinking out of the box is something we need so much right now. And that's what you've all been doing too. So Carrie, I'm going to move on to you right now and give you the floor.
I was writing down all of the answers. I'm sorry, all of the ideas. So just so happens that I have a slide on what I want to talk about, because we had a really great opportunity to partner with Pioneer Network and Leading Age PA, oh gosh, about a couple of weeks ago. And this is something that one of our communities, it's called Woodside Place, and it's a community in Oakmont, Pennsylvania, right near Pittsburgh, go Steelers, that we have been doing. Specifically, our lifestyle engagement certified recreation therapist, Bailey Eaton, has done a great job with this. We have something that the network started in, and when Marilyn Edwards was talking about how she was hand painting the cards, I was really excited about that, because one of the things that we're doing is our Rays of Sunshine. Our communications team really put it out there and had this initiative where we were asking individuals in our community, because of COVID, to send little notes. They started with cards and notes and letters, and it started they were coming in all over social media. Residents all over our campuses across Western Pennsylvania. We have 56 communities. Were receiving all of these great correspondences. So our lifestyle engagement, and here's what some of them may look like. Some of the schools got involved with that. And it's really been great for the residents to see. Our lifestyle engagement team member, our rec therapist, Bailey, as I said, she wanted to return the favor because we had a lot of our residents' families that were really struggling with not being able to see their family members. So one of the things that they started at Woodside Place was to kind of reverse it. So the backgrounds that you're going to see in the next couple of photos are actually, the circles that the residents drew, and they came up with the idea. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day, and each one of our residents in front of the backdrop that they have hold up the sign, and then we take pictures and we send them out to the family members. And it's really been, the residents have really come up with the ideas. Here we've hit all of the since February, we've really hit all of the holidays. So of course it can roll into Thanksgiving and Christmas and Kwanzaa, whatever we want to make it. But this is something that they have been doing, and really, really, truly having a great time with it. So this sign here is, those who bring sunshine into the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves. Again, the residents came up with this. They made the paintings on the background.
Bingo.
So this one was at Easter time. They wanted to have a team member dressed up as the bunny, and they wanted to have their photos taken there too. Of course, we have Santa Claus suits and all of that great stuff, but some of our residents have truly asked for a turkey. So they're working on trying to come up with a turkey costume for next. And so this sign here is, there's a rainbow of hope at the end of every storm. And this is when we heard that we were allowed to start having some window visits outside, or patio visits with the social distancing. So we were pretty excited about that at the time. Again, our residents were making the backdrops there too. And this is Amber, and on the right we have Bailey, on the left we have Amber. Really doing a great job here. These are the stained glass hearts that they were doing. They put them above the fireplace, and then took them into the residents' room, some of them, and were hanging, and the residents just really felt some warmth there. Again, something that they can keep doing. They had a great time with a Disney theme, so they decided to, for something completely different last year, for an appreciation event that they had for team members, and they remembered that and pulled it out. Here they're sending virtual hugs, smiles, sunshine, rainbows, and butterfly kisses. Hence the tie-dyeing of the coffee filters the residents took the time to make, having the photos again taken and sent to their family members at home. Here were some other ones here that I just thought I would share. They had a beach theme, watermelon. I believe they really had planned to do on a different campus. They found out about this on a different campus, and this event was going to take place of their watermelon seed spitting contest, which I'm okay with that. And then in the lower left-hand corner, some of the team members came together and really built. They built a flower pot for every resident, and they planted in there some of the some of the things that they made together. So I just thought that would be something really kind of fun to share with the group, and it gives the residents some real empowerment to think about, what do they want the theme to be, what is it that they want to make, what does the backdrop look like with all the planning. It's a Woodside community for us, so for us, Woodside does equal dementia care. I'm pretty sure after our presentation, all the communities have picked up on this and really having some fun with it now. But you can make it as simple and as easy as you want it to be. And sometimes they get pretty elaborate with it. So it's all in what they want it to be. So if there's something else that others would like to share relating to something along these lines, I would love to hear it.
And I think that we might get that, Carrie, as people are chatting in. Linda just talked about the holiday light display in their area that is acres of decoration. We're going to take an area of our campus and make a much smaller scale of that, and are going to bundle residents up and take them out to walk through it. And at the end of the display, they'll get a holiday treat as they go back inside. You know, I love that. It's one of those things that, especially as we're approaching the cooler months, is, you know, how we can do more of that, of getting outside. And I just love the idea, you know, just like in our normal life, we bundle up more when it gets colder. So I think we're going to have more conversation about what you talked about, Carrie, and thank you for sharing all that. Remember when you did that presentation for leading HPA, and I know that it went over really well because of all the ideas you shared. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Jenny Dill now to give us her words of wisdom.
Hi guys. Well, I'm so excited. My biggest worry for today was that we were all going to have the same idea and that I would have nothing new to share, but that's ridiculous because look who's here, right? So I kind of took a different approach when I was thinking about this when Joan posed this webinar. And so a couple of things. I really thought about the holidays as a sensory experience, and kind of broke things down by sights, sounds, things like that, and what that looks like for the holidays. So around that, you know, sight, the sight thing is a big thing, right? Lights and trees and ornaments and all of that stuff got me thinking about getting outside. We have a couple of larger trees on our property, and would love to have the families come and decorate those, put a personal ornament on those as something that we could then be able to look outside and see that. Let's see. Also, we haven't talked about technology at all. There's so much we can do with technology. So I had a family the other day asking me how could they continue their Black Friday traditions. And so I showed them, just like Carrie did, how to screen share in a Zoom call. And so they have been doing their online shopping over Zoom with a shared screen with their loved one, which is a cool and very safe way to go. So I liked that. Let's see, I have so many ideas, so I'm just gonna throw them out and hopefully it'll spark things. I love the idea of doing kind of along the entertainment thing, decorating the tree outside, encouraging families to do decorations outside of their windows, as gaudy as they want to go would be best. Getting folks to come over and do an outdoor snowball fight would be really fun. We will probably have snow in Denver, but Angie, you can always make, you know, snowballs out of white yarn or something and have a snowball fight or build snowmen outside the windows. I think that would be really sweet. What else? Oh, food, right? Food is where it's at with the holidays. We have a fun tradition here where we do it's a Thanksgiving side dish challenge. So everybody brings their world famous stuffing, green beans, whatever it is. And we do a tasting, do a competition around that. That always goes over really well with the elders as the judges, but also chili cook-offs and soup herbal parties and things like that. Oh, sorry, I thought it was a question. You guys are good. We started digging into some different traditions as well. Instead of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole and keep our tried and true traditions, really looking at other cultures and ethnicities and what we might be able to celebrate as a new tradition. So that's been really interesting, especially amongst a pretty culturally diverse staff. I learned that there is nothing like Christmas in Germany, and I better find a really good recipe for Stollen bread. I also learned a lot about, in Hispanic cultures, the tradition of Christmas tamales is not something I had thought of, but might be a cool thing to incorporate. And if you did, there's a big deal in Japan about Kentucky Fried Chicken at the holidays. Look it up. It's a real thing. Crazy, but anything for a drumstick, right? Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at my notes. Sorry, there's just so many exciting things I want to talk about. I think, you know, there's a lot around the holidays that's just about shared experience. And so I've been thinking a lot about ways to make that happen. And technology kind of makes that a little bit better. But one thing we're planning is like a Hallmark movie day. It's going to be a Sunday. We're all going to watch Hallmark movies in our pajamas, but we're going to invite our families to come pick up bags of popcorn and cookies in a jar that we've made. And even though we're not together, there's some comfort in knowing that we're doing that at the same time as our other people. My elders are a very musical bunch, and they loved the idea of, instead of carolers coming to visit us this year, that we would offer our own caroling on demand. So we'll be Zooming with other communities and with schools and daycares and all kinds of stuff to just pop in and do a virtual sing along, or we'll sing to you, but you know, we're not so good. So those are some of my ideas. And then also, just hold on. Just the idea, I guess, that it's better to give than to receive. And so to think about, you know, Angie, I think touched on this about what are your gifts? Like what do your elders want to give? And that it could be anything. I love the idea of storytelling through time slips, or recording a favorite story. Like I would love to have a recording of my grandparents just telling me, well, that in my family, there's a very off-color story about how the angel got on top of the Christmas tree, something about where to shove it. And I would die to have a recording of my grandfather telling me that story, because it was so wildly inappropriate and so very our family. So even thinking about those things, taking a moment to record a story or a greeting, or even just reading a poem or something and being able to send that to families. I love just thinking about what my own gifts are. I tend to do things around the holidays around photography because that's my passion. And so in the past I've done, oh good, my fire alarm's gonna go off in just a minute. That's cute. Thanks, boss. So anyways, my gift is photography. I love to just take a nice portrait of each resident, print it out, put it in a dollar store frame. You know, this year, maybe they're looking a little haggard because we haven't had haircuts. So take a picture of their hands, right? There's nothing as beautiful as an elder's hands and the stories that they tell. And you can't screw it up. It's really, really simple. So I like that. And then, you know, we talked about, I think it was Carrie and I were talking about just how much the elders and the staff have become family during this time because of the lack of access with their families. And so just looking at that, like how can we celebrate each other and our newly even more entrenched family? So I love the idea of residents making cards for staff, decorating masks. That's so cool. At least we're not, you know, personalizing toilet paper or whatever anymore. But I will share with you, just a couple of weeks ago, we did a thing at our community where I wrote a letter to each staff person, a personal letter, and then I photographed their reactions. I put it in a little video. It was very meaningful. But the amazing part was I have thrown pizza parties. I've washed their cars. I've given them bags of candy, and nothing meant as much as pulling them in one by one and saying, I see you. I see the work that you're doing. I see the sacrifices you make. And so making time for that, I think when Angie talks about purpose, that's really what it gets to, is it's got to be meaningful. We don't just do stuff to do stuff. So anyway, those are some of my ideas. I would love to hear yours. We are definitely not the experts up here. So yeah, keep chatting. Keep chatting. I want to hear everything.
I Please keep chatting. And this is a time when we can converse too. As I said, we purposely did this format so that we can talk with each other and see each other. And so we would love to open it up to all of you to talk about your ideas and chat away too, because sometimes there's not enough time for everything. I just want to say this idea about recording, it's getting some traction in the chat as well. I think that is really powerful. I mean, number one, that idea of caroling on demand, I think that's like really cool. I think that's a really neat idea, not only for other communities, but as you said, schools or families or any groups, you know, what a cool idea. But I'll share with you, and there are some ideas about recordings and cards and things like that, but probably about 10 years ago, my mom gave all of the children, all of us, and then her husband's children as well, a Christmas ornament that had a recording from both of them. And I'll tell you, that's like my favorite Christmas ornament, because that's their voice. And it's something that, you know, I keep some phone messages from people, you know, just because I want to hear their voice. And that's how I feel this Christmas ornament is as well. So I love the recording idea right now.
I would add to that, Penny, that there's some really good resources with StoryCorps around interviewing and pulling questions out. And when we talk about legacy, you can record those stories, one for as a gift, but also to be uploaded to the Library of Congress and archived forever. So wow, talk about an elder's legacy.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard those stories, they are so incredibly powerful in such a short period of time. I mean, they're really just poignant stories that last, you know, only a minute or two sometimes, and then sometimes much longer. So thanks for that. So let's open it up to all of you. Please, again, keep yourself muted unless you're talking, but we'd love to hear from you. Really, this is your time to talk, share.
Hi, this is Cleo. And we're in Seattle. I'm wearing a mask because I'm in the office with my office mate, Deanna, my colleague. We're both chaplains in spiritual care. And so we have, we've been celebrating Mexican Day of the Dead now for the past 2 or 3 years. And typically we would install an altar in the chapel. We have a very large, beautiful chapel. And the altar would include figurines, of course, the little skeletal figures that maybe some of you have seen in stores and so on. And then we do a presentation on the history and the culture and the meaning, the cultural meaning of Day of the Dead. We show the film Coco. So this year, we'll be showing the film Coco. We're not going to be doing the altar per se, but what we thought we would do instead, each of our neighborhoods has a bulletin board. And so we thought we would put copies of pictures of our residents and patients who have died during the year on the bulletin board with their names, as well as invite our residents to share pictures that they would like, residents and staff both, pictures of people in their lives who have died, and put them on the bulletin board as well. We have a resident, I hear, that we're trying to enlist as a volunteer to help us make garlands of paper marigolds to drape around those bulletin boards. And of course, we've got, you know, the typical art pages that we'll invite our residents to color of the different skull shaped items. So this year, of course, it's much more of a challenge, but it's been a very meaningful event in the past. And we hope that our new format will continue to include people in remembering our residents as well as people in their lives.
You're on mute, Penny.
I know. I love that. And one of the things Jenny said too is just talking about the spirituality of the season. And so I think that that's so very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And Jenny said we haven't talked about Veterans Day yet and opening it up. What are you all planning to do to honor veterans this year? Because that's always such an important day and event in our senior living communities.
At Westminster Woods, we always each year hold a breakfast where the residents from different levels of living, because we're a CCRC, get together and they have breakfast and they chat and they talk. We have a dignitary come and speak. And of course, that was a casualty of COVID-19. So we're making signs with the resident's name and the branch of their service and laminating them and attaching an American flag so we can attach that to each of their room doors so other people can recognize them. Our dietary department's coming up with a food gift box that they're going to deliver to all of our veterans on campus. And two of our dignitaries, one of our representatives is going to video a message that we can broadcast to each of our residents, and another one's having certificates of appreciation made up for each one. And we have these huge banners that we're going to put out in front of each of our buildings that thank veterans.
I love that. Any other ideas about what people are doing? Danielle, you talked about the service project you're doing of thank you cards. How about anybody else? Or anybody else have other things that they want to share about what they're doing, or any other questions you may want to ask each other about how you're doing certain things, what you're doing for certain things? We have a question coming up. Somebody would love to hear ideas about Christmas religious services if people are holding these virtually. Somebody from Providence, Mount St. Vincent, I'm thinking of a Zoom Christmas Eve service that families can call into. What are you doing about any sort of spiritual religious services?
I don't know if I'm talking or...
Is anybody bringing those in virtually, or what are you doing?
Hey, restart stupid thing.
Figure it out.
I already started it.
So this is Sarah from St. John's Home in Rochester, and Rochester, New York. We kind of in conjunction with our staff on the floors and chaplains have decided that because we can't bring in anyone and because limited numbers of people that can be in the chapel, we've really dug in deep on the floors and in the households. And so all of the celebrations will happen throughout our buildings with the chaplains assigned. And so that feels good to the chaplains. Actually, more people get touched that way. And we don't have any volunteers, so we can't get elders to the chapel either. So it's a compromise, and that's how we're taking care of it.
And we're seeing online that there are virtual services that people are bringing in, or as Danielle said, utilizing their internal channel for people who live on their campus. I think that's one of those things that definitely in some communities, so many people are missing, is that religious and spiritual aspect. And not everyone is lucky enough to have chaplains available for them.
Mm.
Jenny, just so you know, somebody's asking for your email. Just wanted you to know that. Please put that in chat if you can. Any other questions that you all have about how celebrations are occurring? You know, I was just listening to a podcast this morning, and it was about everyone who does not live in a senior living community, and just how much celebrations are going to change as far as even Thanksgiving dinners and December holiday gatherings and things like that. And I think that somebody mentioned that it's not only residents who are talking about is but how families are dealing with this too. And we know that so many families in different communities, have their loved ones come to their houses for their celebrations, and that's just not something that's really going to be possible for a lot of people this year. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that. Are you doing anything to facilitate families getting together with residents virtually or things like that?
To the caroling point, we haven't figured out if we can do this yet because we have 3 different buildings at St. John's. But we talked about getting folks to come and stand outside to carol, that it might be a good way to engage families and faith communities to be a part of celebrating with the elders. So that one way that families and community members can give.
I love that. Any other ideas about what you're doing or what you're planning on doing from anybody out there? Angie or Danielle, what are your communities doing? And Angie, I know I mean like the signature communities, but and that's kind of broad. But are you how are you both handling any sort of family type of gathering specifically for the holidays, or are you planning for that yet?
I can honestly say, I don't think that we've started that far into the holiday planning yet. We're just really trying to, I think it's going to be an assessment too of where each community is, because we have 115 and they're all in different stages or phases, what we can do and what we'll be able to do on site, if that makes sense, and what we won't. Some of our communities are opening for visitation and some are not. And so we have kind of a varied spectrum across the board on what's happening right now. So I think it'll be something to look at, in another 30 days and really see what's that going to really look like. And I think probably many others are thinking along those same lines. But I think everyone should be utilizing technology at this point to try to figure out something. But I also think that a lot of people are also a little what's the right word? Technology tired. Are we Zoom tired? I read an article this week on Zoom fatigue, and I think it's really real. And when you think about that, because there's just so much that we can do, through Zoom. And while we can do a lot of things, there's still some limitation on what we can do and be able to continue to offer people to have optimal well-being at this time, right? So.
Sure, I completely agree. Danielle, anything to add to that?
I agree with what Angie said. We're on the outskirts of planning. I did put in the chat box that we thought the week of Thanksgiving, got to get away from Halloween, and Christmas, those weeks when we do have family visits, that we would have snacks, because normally we would have a big party, and so we would have those types of food, drink. They would be able to enjoy that with their loved one, obviously physically distancing and safe, but they would at least be able to enjoy what their loved one is enjoying as well. So it's kind of like maybe a mini party, mini appetizer party, but that's what we're thinking right now. We're actually supposed to meet in the next week or two, the management staff, to actually talk about the Thanksgiving meal. Because wow, that's the biggest meal that we have on campus every year, and it's not going to be anywhere like it used to be. So.
Hey, Danielle, maybe I was just thinking one of my favorite bands is doing this thing called it's called Dinner and a Show, and they send out recipes. So imagine if you could collect like family recipes from your elders and send it out and say, okay, tonight we're having Penny's famous beef brisket or whatever it is, and that they could be making it at home and know that like mom is also having that for dinner. It might be kind of a cool way to like an upgrade from the old like church cookbook idea.
We can. I'm going to tell you that our people might have mutiny if we change some of those Southern dishes.
All right, I understand.
But I like that idea. Yes. Thank you.
That's funny. It's maintaining some of those traditions and, you know, seeing how far you can veer off from those. You know, something you said, Angie, and Hope commented about it in the chat as well, is the Zoom fatigue. Because I think that, you know, I'm feeling that too. I think that a lot of us are feeling that. Are residents and families feeling that at this point, do you think? I mean, in some ways, I would think, yes, definitely. And then in some ways, it's like latching on to that sort of only thing we have for some people. It's that balance. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, and Penny, I think that's a great point, because there is that latch, it's the latching on, right? To try to get the only thing that I have control on over. And I think that everyone's been spiraled out of not being able to have control over the situations around us. And our families, I mean, have done that, and they do latch on. It's almost like, you know, sometimes you think you want to get off social media, but then it's the only communication that you really have with some people. So there's that thing that kind of keeps you, but then you think, oh, I just don't want to do it anymore because I'm tired of it. But then you still have that, you still desire to have that communication with people that aren't part of your day-to-day regular routine, right? That you love and you want to keep up with. And so I think we see that for a lot of our families right now. And I think people are tired. And I think that, you know, that we need, as an industry, we're going to have to figure out how to innovate in this space if we're going to be able to maintain. I mean, because the pandemic's not going away, right? I mean, and matter of fact, I live in a very small town, and we're in the red zone today. We've been great for months, and now we're in the red zone all of a sudden. So, you know, I think that it's not going away, and we just have to figure out how we're going to build and continue to grow meaningful relationships. I think for the holidays, it's going to be all about meaning. And as Jenny said, it's that shared experiences. It's what makes it meaningful to each person, because every person has a different idea and every person has a different value stream, especially when it comes to this time of the year, right? People have traditions that they want to make sure kind of our responsibility to figure out how to facilitate those traditions in people's lives. And they may not look like they've always looked in the past, but there are ways to make things meaningful. And so we just have to really dig deep and figure out what are those ways, I think.
Angie, just to build on that, one of our family members that are very close and spend a lot of time together were really feeling that disconnect from not seeing each other. And they actually asked us to create a very small, for that group of individuals, Facebook page, the Facebook page, so that they could really spend some time together that way. And then when they would have a question, you know, our team would be a part of that. And then our team is able to put out some things there some resources that we think might be helpful. But initially it was literally just for them to connect. And now it has really become this big sharing opportunity. But it's very private too, for the groups that are really part of that support group, and that handful of family members that have really gotten very close and shared and become a support system for each other. So that's been really, really very special to watch.
I think that's great. You know, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up voting, and just making sure that even as we're entering this season, right? I'm a steadfast believer that is that's one of our liberties here in this country, and that, you know, so many people are like, should we go by BIM score or whatever for voting? And I'll give my personal opinion? Absolutely not. It's a freedom. It's a liberty that every single person has a right to. And so it's figuring out and making sure that we're doing that in our communities. Really, really important that our elders have that voice and that their voice is heard. And we can't let COVID get in the way of that. And so we're actually doing these political drive-through parades where we're asking local politicians to drop by so that our elders can at least see them. So that's happening this month of October. Something that you might want to consider because, you know, our elders lived in a time where they're used to being with those politicians and they're used to that communication, and we've not been able to give that during this COVID season. So we have to open up those doors however we can. So just really making sure that you're doing that and you're not biased in what you're doing with our elders. But it's very, very important to provide that, as many of you know, but I have to give that reminder today.
Well, and I think it's a good reminder, Angie, because, and it's sort of a good way to wrap this up too, because we know that residents of senior living communities, whether we're talking about CCRC's life plan communities or assisted living communities or nursing homes, have the same rights as anyone else in this country. And so I think that's really important. And then the other thing that you touched on is just individuals. You know, I think that this has been something that, you know, we all try to make sure that everything is very person-centered, focused on the individual themselves. And in this time of COVID, it's been really hard, obviously, sometimes harder than ever to reach everyone and really learn what their preferences are. But I think that as this goes longer, it behooves us that we need to be creative, as you said, and find different ways. So we appreciate all of you being involved in this conversation and sharing with us and participating in this learning. And as I said, this is something that we're going to try to continue every month. And in November, we're planning on having Christopher Breidenhauer with us, and he'll be sharing, and we'll let you know what that date is to have our next conversation. I also want you to know that on October 22nd, we have a Sharing the Vision webinar. This is one of our complimentary webinar series, and it's on purposeful engagement, the challenge, the opportunity, the example. And this is going to be sponsored and co-hosted by IN2L, that many of you are familiar with. So we hope that you'll join us for that. Just go to our events page for more information. And the last thing I want you to know and be aware of, if you haven't seen it in the chat, is if you didn't get a chance to share what you're doing, we're using this really cool app called Video Ask, where you can create a 2-minute video of just the things that you're doing, and we'll be able to share that on our ABC Combating Social Isolation page too. Kathy put that in the chat and a link to that for everybody to submit. So I just want to thank Angie and Danielle and Jenny and Carrie for being with us and leading this conversation today. And I want to thank all of you for participating. Again, you can look on the ABCs of Combating Social Isolation tab on our resource page for this recording and for many other ideas that you can share with us. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a great day.